Morrow says that there is a little bit of lag for him, but he says let's play. What a man. What a man. A man's man. Doesn't let any excuses get in his way. Alright, if I'm not mistaken, of course, Stephen Anderson. Morrow, he is, of course, on Team Property. What a prop, man. What a fun team. Starring in, of course, one of my all-time favorite players, one of my favorite Protoss EU players as well on that team. But Morrow, he's been on a pretty good roll today. Took out Demaga, of course. Some maybe a little bit of an upset, but for me, I consider that a pretty even matchup. He's going to be taking on a little bit of a tougher opponent, though. One of the best of the foreign scene. It is Liquid's very own Snute. Look at the horse. Look at it. You love it. Of course, Liquid being one of the fan favorite teams, one of the older teams of SC2 and just generally StarCraft. My God, almost going back in the day, or one of the first teams I cheered for, watched. Snute, a longtime player that I've kind of seen grow and develop too as well. It's incredible how far he's gotten. He's a tiny dude though. I love Snute, but he is a tiny dude. It's funny because like first time I met him was at IPL 4. Wanted to get an interview from him. I'm just like, I thought, for whatever reason, I thought he was just like, you know, from seeing pictures and camera. What I'm like, I thought he was like 6 foot something. He is not. He is not that big. That's all I'm gonna say. But he's damn sure as hell good at StarCraft. He's damn sure as hell good at RTSs. And right now we're looking at speed pulled off of gas, going for the hatch. King Sejong, of course, versus a Terran player. You know, there's really two styles of play. Either you take a hatch first, or you get quick speed just to have some map control for Reaper harass. Not sure how familiar Snute is with Morrow's recent play, but if Morrow shows off once again that double factory flame style, I really hope Snute is going to be prepared for it. Snute actually probably does have a good chance of being prepared for it. He is one of those players that loves to mass up in queens. We actually broadcast him the other day, and he's just, God, he just masses queens just versus everybody. It doesn't matter who he's playing against. He just gets a boatload of them and, you know, defends absolutely everything and moves on from there. Third base underway for Morrow, so looking very reminiscent to that Overgrowth game that we saw versus Demaga, and we could probably and should potentially be seeing that same double factory blue flame opener. It's a tough opener to hold regardless. Even if you have a lot of queens, you have to be very cautious with how you defend it. With blue flame and enough Hellions, anything can really happen. Miracles can happen. This is, of course, a best of 3 as of this whole entire qualifier today. Snute finding that first slide opening. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to laugh. Yeah, GG. Well, this is one of the risks of not having a bunker. Morrow. Hopefully he'll be a little bit more prepared and aware in this game than he was in last. He faces off against his Zerg opponent, Liquid's very own Snute. And yeah, it is now officially 1-0. I know some of you guys were asking about the score. It is 1-0 in favor of Snute. And, you know, this map for Snute is also pretty favorable as well, because with his massive queen typical style, it's a lot easier with more queens just to wall off and hold an area. It's a lot harder for Terran players to attempt to get some run bys. Like we saw versus Demaga, those mass Hellions ended up running on through anyways, but that's because Demaga didn't really have a wall off for any units at all out on the map. Like Snute will beforehand make sure he's got a lot of queens before he does anything else. Snute, is he going for a drone scout? He is going for a drone scout. And I respect Zergs that do this, because a lot of Zergs now tend to be as greedy as they possibly can. They avoid the drone scouts so they don't find out enough information, and they don't anticipate things like a 2-racks or anything along those lines. Snute, of course, will be very well informed as he heads on across the map. Going for the hatch first, of course, that is a pretty another big reason. If you're gonna go hatch first, you might as well be as well informed as you possibly can be. And he's going around along the backside, because where are your typical proxy positions? Right here. You're looking at back here. Sometimes right here. And of course, typically, and once in a while, right out in the middle of the map. And then this is one of those things where if a Zerg player doesn't drone scout, they'll actually end up missing a lot of this stuff. You know, Overlords are only going to be able to catch so much if you just send them straight across the map from your natural spawn location. Alright, pool underway, getting his gas up as well. Morrow this time around, what's he planning? Command center first, as we see. Getting a racks up. Getting the gas up already as well. So, Morrow looking to... I want to say macro, but you know, it could be one of those things where he's just looking to get a base up quickly, get control. And I would love to see that double factory play out of him again. It was really fun to watch. It does get a lot of damage done, but I would love to see... The only reason I would love to actually just... I would love to... Oh, okay, now this game doesn't lag. Okay, good. Well, one thing I would love to see is just how well does it work Queens versus just Mass Blue Flame Hellion, because once in a while you don't really get a good understanding of a relation of units until you actually see them fight against each other. Ooh, Snute, what are you thinking? What you thinking, big guy? He's got a Roach Warren underway. This is a really early Roach Warren, by the way. This isn't your Roach Warren to defend against the Hellion poke at your third base. This is a Roach Warren that says, I'm going across the map, ready or not, here I come. Morrow's got a factory building. He has a reactor going up on his barracks, so there are 2 Marines currently out on the map. He's putting up a 3rd command center. Oh, this is so bad. This is so bad for Morrow right now. This is so freaking bad. 6 roaches underway. He, of course, I'm pretty sure he's got speed too as well, so he's able to follow up as well and just rally lings after his initial roaches. Because that is one of those things that happens. That, sometimes you spend you have usually a little bit more resources than gas, especially when you're on just 1 gas. But eventually, when you spend your gas, your next reinforcements are going to be your lings, and with speed lings, they could of course go across the map a lot quicker than roaches can. Alright, well here come the roaches. This is really bad for Morrow because even though he does have a wall, even though he does have a bunker, you know, 2 Marines here are not going to be able to do too much. 2 Hellions are sure as hell not going to be able to do much at all either. And this is the risk you run. You sometimes play very greedy. You don't get a lot of information on your opponent, and this is the advantage of Reapers. Reapers get a lot of information. They contain and control your opponent. We made the comparison there, like roaches are just like look like girls like on New Year's Eve, man, like running around. They got their high heels just. All right, well, here goes the bunker. Does he have enough repair? Does he have enough repair? One more shot. More shot. Oh, he actually missed his opportunity. He's now actually got to focus fire some of the SCVs. There is a Marauder out, which is nice. Yeah, the Marauder's in the bunker, a little bit of a pain in the butt. Like, Snute should have been able to do more with this. He should have been able to honestly break the bunker too as well, but kind of moved and then attacked. Like, he gave enough time for the SCVs to just get one last, like, nice repair off before one of the roaches got killed off. Well, Snute going for a 3rd hatchery. You know, like I said, I thought this was going to be really good for Snute. He should have been able to break down the bunker. He should have been able to just, you know, walk his way on through and have his way with Morrow's natural. But Marauder comes out, repairs enough, only loses a couple SCVs really for it, and now we have Hellions out on the map. There are a few roaches back at home, of course, breaking down the rocks, but, you know, there is opportunity for these Hellions now in this game. Helping you, some of you nerds out in Twitch chat. Adding on a lot of barracks. +1/+1 carapace underway, +1/+1 for the biostim, just about done. Roaches. Well, enough to push off. Not really worth it to try to dive the Hellions in for a couple additional drones that are not really there. Morrow's still not taking his 3rd base just yet. He has the 3rd base, but not taking it just yet. I'm waiting to see what he does with it. He's got combat shields underway. overall, you know, Morrow's not too bad off. As soon as he gets the add-ons on, as soon as he gets the full-fledged 5 racks plus factory, you know, biomech production with medevacs, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a decent test for Snute. It's gonna be a decent test for Snute this game because I think he expected to do more damage and to get more damage done with those roaches. And when you invest that much that early, you do set yourself a tiny bit behind. Here comes the macro hatch, Spire as well. Now the one thing I am interested for Morrow is he's pretty blind inside the main base. He does of course see the Evo chambers, but with this current information he might be thinking that it could be it could be Roche Hydra play. He still doesn't know if it's going to be Ling Bling Muta, which is good and bad all at the same time. Good because Snute's a tiny bit more set behind, and he's just a tad bit behind on upgrades. As you can see, the two teams like, you know, bordering each other at this point. But there will be more and more units out for Morrow sooner with the 5 racks, with the third base up and running smoothly. He should be safe too as well to kind of continue an attack. So he's gonna have to put on a pretty good defense, because if Morrow is very attentive to his splitting and to his aggressive play like he had earlier, you know, if Demaga had as much trouble as he did with Morrow, it could be a similar story. I don't know. We'll wait and see though. Here comes the move out. The Hellions are taking control of the watchtowers. Roaches are coming out to greet them. Now roaches are pretty good units to have also once in a while in between all the lings and mutas and banelings, because what they do, they'll soak up a little bit more damage and they'll aggro the attack from the bioforces, which allows sometimes the lings and the banelings to slip on through. Well, mainly the banelings to slip on through right behind them. But yeah, you look at the roaches, and if they're dead, they can't really do that. Going up to the top left side of the map, 4th base available for him to attack. A lot of lings and blings moving, a lot of banelings moving on over here. +2/+2, still about halfway done for both players. +1 mech as well for Morrow. Morrow, does he have a 4th base building? No, but he is adding on a lot more production. As you can see, very consistent with balancing out the racks count between his base count. Setting some units forward. Snute going to take a little bit of a peaceful trade right there. A few Marines for a few banelings. Hellbats are at the front. Going to roll a few more units up to the front. See if we get a little bit more damage done to the hatchery. There are some units split up in the back. Snute, well, he's got to take the fight eventually. There we go. He's going to take the fight right now. A lot of banelings are already dead, and the Hellbat's still getting quite a bit of damage done. Actually, there's a Hellion in there. More units, though, are getting produced and rallied, forming additional banelings. Yeah, for now, until he gets more medevacs or a few more units of his own, he might want to be a little bit more cautious. There we go. We also have Hellbats within the mix. Morrow's pressure is going to be tough to deal with for Snute, because until Snute can actually force this really, truly back, it's going to be continual, that weird story, that 2-base Ling Bling production. Oh, well, tries to roll in from the front, but Morrow had pretty good awareness of it and already had some of the units pre-split. But Morrow can't play this game for too long as well. If you know, Snute gets enough numbers out and he's able to just, you know, get a full surround and swarm on this very back corner, this could end up being pretty bad for him too as well. He's actually even going for a counterattack right now. There are no units here to catch the counterattack just yet, but there is such a nice wall that none of these lings could actually run on through. Morrow going on forward to the 4th hatchery, gonna stim up ahead with some of the Hellbats, the Marines, and Marauders. Some of them, of course, are in the back. Really beautiful pre-split out of him, making sure that Snute has to pretty much take the most inefficient engagement that he could possibly find. Getting pulled back, forcing him to get pulled back to the 3rd base. Here comes the banelings. They're going to try to trade off. He's on creep right now, so if there is a great time, it would be now to go take the fight. Meanwhile, over here, 3rd base completely ramsacked. A lot of the SCVs and units killed off. Mutas, okay, on the left side are going to get taken out. Everything on the forces on the left side, though, look at this. This is the engagement we were talking about. This is the one he needed to take. And because of just the devastation that happened at the 3rd base right now, you know, Snute's not really too far behind off of this. There is a moment where if Morrow goes up for the follow-up attack pretty soon, doesn't wait too long, he might be okay to continue pressing on. But losing that amount at the 3rd base plus that just really nice clean engagement from Snute at the very end puts him in a decent position, or at least puts him back in the game. Creep on the 4th base right now will deny the 4th orbital or 4th command center placement for a little bit longer. Snute retaking the 4th. Muta's coming on up. Oop, poke. Get on out of there. Now we do have swarm hosts out on the map. Now this is a bit of one of those oddities, I guess, so you see in TVZ once in a while. Players like Snute like to poke in and, you know, put in a few swarm hosts. Swarm hosts are okay for map control. The one scary part whenever you're facing off against bio with swarm host is the mobility of the bio can just avoid them, and especially with how that's out on the map, you could fight through them too as well. There's just a lot of DPS. I'm not sure if I like this out of Snute. It might be a risk. It might be a pretty decent risk, because the bioforces are going to ignore the one thing you're hoping with swarm hosts is not only do they get you map control, but you hope that, you know, the bioforces or whatnot, they're going to be taking the fight against the swarm host. They're going to be fighting the locust. They're going to be fighting the free units on the map. And you know, a smart Terran player will avoid the swarm host. I'm not one of those smart Terran players. Recently, somebody that actually played this style was Livy B. I played Livy B. I hit her on ladder, and she put in some swarm hosts, and I ended up just like try to fight through a swarm host a couple times, and versus a lot of free units over and over again. And that's where the swarm hosts come into play. If you can get enough swarm hosts, and you know, you could force the fight heads up with some of these forces, then it becomes problematic. But generally, right now, looking at Snute's composition, even though he is pretty close to maxed out, the swarm host can be as much of a detriment as they can be a problem, because you could see the link bling numbers are not that high. If the bioforces manage to slip on through, and it's just mutas and lings and banelings versus the bioforces, it could be lights out for Snute. Run by denied, killed off all the lings. Morrow maxed out as well. +3/+3 done as well. That's big note as well. That's one of those things where Zergs hate to know that statistic right there when the upgrade numbers for the biomech get up to 3/3. +2 as well underway for the mech. And this is the problem right here, because yes, you do have it's like, yes, you do have swarm hosts, but look at this. Like, where are the swarm hosts? The swarm hosts are way the hell over here. Now you got to move them up. Now you got to move them across. Meanwhile, you just have bioforces just blowing their way on through. And what are you going to do? You're going to burrow all of these swarm hosts. How many you know how many locusts you need to break through Hellbat's doors and all of the bioforces? Like, Snute is desperate. Like, he is really cut off from his bases, and this is what I was talking about right here. You're not going to be able to blow on through with the locusts. That's problem number one. Because you produced swarm hosts, you blocked yourself from producing more lings and banelings, and now you have a much more mobile composition just breaking through all your other bases. So it has to be very situational when you use swarm hosts or versus a proper player to note. But you could just look, the whole main is going to get killed off. Like, what's going to happen here? Like, yes, he eventually trades off, but he lost all of his hatcheries. He loses his lair. He's going to lose more and more, and he's continually losing. Look at all the Marines that are still alive inside the base. They could fight off against the Mutas and Hellbats. Meanwhile, on the left side of the map, 4th base getting hunted down. All the structures inside the main base, spawning pool, Roach Warren, Aspire, everything getting cut off. Snute knows this game is pretty much over. Snute has to know this game is over. Snute's like, no, not with my swarm host, brother. He's like, I got swarm hosts, man. Those things could last forever. Well, additional bases and upgrades getting added on for Morrow right now, forming some more orbitals, floating over to the gold base. This game is over. This game is over. Snute, of course, gonna try to make something happen, but I mean, when you're trying to make something happen with just swarm hosts and you're having to rebuild your spawn, your structures, you have to rebuild your lair, there's just too much. There's just too much. I mean, to a certain point and extent, you know, they're locusts are locusts, but all these bioforces with the Hellbats, they'll just stim and blow through them. Like, look at the DPS. Yeah, no. They scan ahead, they'll end up taking out the swarm host. Gold hatchery gonna get picked off as well. Snute drops back down to 2 hatcheries. Still no spawning pool done. Locust getting microed back. Morrow's like, bro, I got orbitals for days. Got scans if I need them. Yeah, GG. Alright, we're going to be heading on to Game 3. Morrow versus Snute. Well played from Morrow. Snute with that and ended up eventually taking the game. TLDR. Down here at the south side of merry-go-round we have Liquid's very own Snute. The boy himself, the boy wonder. Can he take game number 3? On this map I almost 100% anticipate early pool and gas out of him. Well, he's sending a drone scan. He might actually hatch. He might actually hatch first. Like, Snoot's one of those players where I anticipate him getting a lot of getting quick pool, quick gas, getting speed out on the map, and then beginning to expand his way. Morrow, ooh, going for 12-12. Looking to go into Reapers. Alright, I like it. So Snute is going for the hatch first. Alright, cool. I'm like, a lot of Zerg players really shy away from going hatch first on merry-go-round. It's a very wide open ramp and map, and sometimes you'd love to be a little bit more aggressive, and it's a lot easier to control map and presence with speed and pool sooner. And of course, if you get by getting the pool first, you get queens a little bit sooner as well, which allow you to get up to 3 to 4, whatever. Being creeping up the whole entire map, which is nice. Zergs like to do that. Morrow going for the Reaper. Snute, pool, gas. Alright. Well, we got a little bit of a TVZ on our hands right now. Kinda wanna, how do I shift fall? There we go. I want to look at the bracket. Well, while we got a little bit of time, we'll just kind of look at this Overlord fly away. I want to look at the brackets for a little bit. So, round of 32 right now, we have Snute versus Morrow, Euthermal versus Beastie Cutie. Nurchio beat Tefl, and he is playing against Daishi in the round of 16. TLO lost to Marine, and Marine's going to be waiting for Blyer Petraeus. Goody versus Xanster. Risk, a French player versus Snitchables, 2 players that I'm not too familiar with. Bunny versus Freyr. Bunny beat him, and he is playing against Showtime after Showtime beat Targa. Marine Lord is playing against Koss. Lilbo took out Mana. Verity beat Happy. He's waiting for the winner of Nogard and Harstem, most likely to be Harstem. Bling actually waiting for Strelok and Cross right now in the round of 32. 4GG will be waiting the winner of Bling versus whoever plays against Strelok and Cross, because he beat Pit Drogo. Pit Drogo is actually a really good player. For some of you guys not too familiar with some of the European GMs and players, Pit Drogo really has done a really good job of developing as a player, performing well. In the Cascade Team League, he had the highest amount of ace match wins. Yeah, he had the highest amount of ace match wins. I know Koss had he was the leader for all kills, but Pit Drogo, one of the clutchest players I have seen in a long time in the European team leagues. He had by far the most amount of ace match wins, did a really nice job, and it's really developed his Protoss play and become one of the top EU GMs. But yeah, when you run into 4GG, you might be in it a little bit over your head. Or you might not be in a little over your head, it's just you're playing against a really strong player, so it really depends what you expect to get out of the game. Third base for Snute. Snute's speed is just about done. Reaper wasn't able to really get much done, but did get a little bit of scouting information. Morrow right now already has a starport, and this is off of 2 base as well to mention. And there's that armory. I was about to say, I'm like, we might be seeing some Hellbats. Might be seeing some good old Hellbats. Snute, that confident dude at the poker table. You got Hellbats, I'll raise you roaches. Yeah, because nothing screams Hellbat deny like roaches and queens. And Snute has more than enough time to prepare roaches at this point, and queens if you wanted to. Well, let's take a look. What information does he currently have? He knows that there's a natural. He doesn't know about really anything else, and he's not taking the risk of floating in, but I think he did spot at the very edge all of these Hellions. There's no wall off up on the high ground of the natural, so they do for now, have pretty free access and mobility to move around through there. Though the first roaches have come on out, and they're hopefully gonna hold up the front wall. I don't know if they're gonna be able to hop all the way over to the third base. The problem with taking the third base to the right side is it's a little bit further away. You have to connect the creep. You have to get all the way out there, and you're a little bit more extended. But there is that risk too as well. You take the closer third base, you're a lot closer to your Terran opponent, and we've seen at times, you know, sometimes how those Congo lines of units can just be devastating for a Zerg player as well as also when they don't have to really work through the range. Now the roaches went off of creep, went across the map. That opens actually up a little bit of a hole for some of these Marines and Hellbats to get on through to the other side. The roaches finally do come on out. There's one medevac, so you can't really save a lot of these units, so you're pretty much left here fighting with as much as you possibly can. All the lings will get eventually cleared out, but the roaches are doing a pretty nice job on their part, clearing out whatever they possibly can. Yeah, this oh, I wasn't able to save the Hellbat, but overall, eventually at the very end, was denied that push, and for now, Morrow actually does get set for it pretty far behind. Usually you want to get a lot more damage done, but because Snute had roaches, he was able to fight through that pretty quickly. Thing is, if it was just lings and queens, or lings, queens, and banelings, most likely there would have been a lot more trading going on and a continuation. But because it was roaches, it got quickly denied and pushed off. Over on the right side, we do have Morrow's drop, maybe looking to seek out some additional harassment, as well as also Banshee coming on into the fray. Take a look back at Morrow's base. Getting his cloak as well, getting his stim. If he can't get any damage done with the Banshee, then he's in a position to lose. Morrow is in a very obvious position to lose if you can't get much damage done with the Banshee, but Banshee is going to come on in here. Cloak not done just yet. The research still has about 10 additional seconds on it. We'll see how much more damage the Banshee can get done before it has to cloak up. No Spore Crawler just yet inside the main base. Cloak, 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 cloak. There it is. There is that cloak. Should be able to get about 2 to 3 more drones as well. 1, 2, gets one going over to the third base, but there's already a Spore over there too as well. And Banshee gets taken out. Oh, I don't like that. I really don't like that. This is, in my opinion, a very bad moment for Morrow. Oh, and he lifts off the command center. Not enough roaches, though. Not enough roaches to pursue the dream. 1-1 underway, Bailing speed, so Snute eventually will be transitioning back into Ling, Bling in, also that Spire as well, something that we saw from last game. This time though, he is in a much better position to play this out, and as well also, in terms of economic standards, way far ahead. Mentally, if you're Morrow, you have to be wondering how passive do I have to really play? Because that is probably the one answer to staying in this game, is playing passive. If he plays aggressive, he doesn't have enough. Well, he doesn't obviously have enough to play aggressive with, anyways. He might have a Banshee here harassing a little bit, but it's not actually getting any serious economic damage done. It's just utilizing the time of their 2 queens. But everything else, the production's pretty well off. Creep training with the Overlord, macro hatch about up, 4th hatchery underway. Snute is pretty consistent with that though. If you're one of these players that's trying to get a little bit of a read on Snute, every time he's taking a 4th hatchery, he most likely has also a macro hatch behind that as well. So that's something to note. +1/+1 for Morrow, +2/+2, about halfway done for Snute. There are quite a few Hellions out. Meanwhile, on the right side, 4th hatchery under attack. That one Marauder, just living. There we go, finally taken down. It is a bit of a depressing moment when you see that many Banelings just roll into 2 Marauders. Every Zerg just cried a tear and had a deep sigh. It had to be done. It had to be done. Well, you know, Morrow's not going to take Doctor's orders, and he is going to take an aggressive route. But here comes all of the Lings on the backside over here. They're going to get quite a bit of damage done. Meanwhile, over here at the front, how much can he defend? He's got the Hellions running through the 4th base. Meanwhile, inside the main, there is that drop. carnage going on, and the third base lings will be denied for now. Well, you know what? Look at this. Look at Morrow. He's making something out of nothing. He's making something out of nothing. He does have to fly on out of there. There is a bit of an overwhelming amount of units left. But he's trying to make something out of nothing, which is a lot better. Which is a lot better, you know, than just kind of, I guess, sitting around completely. At this point in time, though, I'm trying to just look at the overall game landscape right now and kind of see where both players are at. And looking at Morrow, he needs Thors. He's going to need Thors. He's got Marines. He's got Marauders. He's going to have combat shields. He started as 2-2, but he's going to need that additional factory in for that Thor, because mutas are going to become a bit of a problem for him. They're going to have +1 attack. Snute is gaining more and more of them too, as well as the game goes on. You can see more and more gathering. Oh, very attentive to save that one. But there is no denying, with the 4th hatchery up, the economic advantage for Snute is much larger. Upgrades, 2-2, much better off than currently our reserve players. He hasn't been able to really get the creep spread out there, so it's not an easy move out across the map. But overall, you know, if he sits back for a little bit longer, and if he wants to go into Ultralisks and the Hive Tech, he does have that option as well. Really, the world is Snute's oyster. He just has to be really careful not to abuse that fact. Like, you can't wait off too long. You can wait to fight, but you can't wait too long unless you're producing or having something in the back of your trick. You need a bit of a trump card as a Zerg player. You can't just let a Terran player max out, get 2-2 up, and then, you know, eventually get Thors, get the whole composition, because then you run the risk of getting forced into an even trade as well. Now Morrow has a 4th base up. Snute's on 4 bases. Snute has a piss ton of resources to utilize if he wants. Flying in with the mutas doesn't see its worth. For now, we'll fly on out. Well, an enormous run by of lings, but action all over the place. Drop inside the main base, push at the 4th, fight outside the natural, fight inside the natural. Mars beginning to pre-split. Mutas are coming back to defend this, so as soon as he sees the mutas back here, he's going to begin pressing forward. Yep. Split. Banelings die. A few more splits. A few more Banelings die. Marines are in the back, still pretty much alive. He's producing 40 lings right now, but this 4th hatchery is pretty vulnerable. It's pretty vulnerable. He's got to micro the Marines back, though. Doesn't get the hatchery, and Morrow ends up losing a lot more, I think, than he anticipated, but it was good on his part, though. It was good on his part. He forced a lot of trading. He forced a lot of fighting to go on. Stutter step micro. We'll see how much he takes out. This is still an amount of mutas and lings that will just continually push back and force the micro out of our Terran player. You can see actually Morrow doing a wonderful job of stutter stepping and getting as much, you know, much efficiency out of his composition as he can. There's still some roaches, but the majority of the lings are gone. Now it's just mutas. He's got to back on up. Concussive Shell keeping some of those units around. Now, the key factor in that fight right there wasn't just saving the 4th hatchery, but while he was chasing down his opponent, he took out a lot of the medevacs. He took out the healing power and capability. Now we have 1 medevac. A lot of times the problem for a lot of these Zerg players is just fighting through all the continual heals, you know, through the stim throughs and everything else. When you take out the medevacs, the Terran player can't think about being too aggressive, because every stim is just that much more detrimental into his ability to produce and his ability to attack. Snute went back into Swarm Host. I did not notice that. He's grabbing a 5th hatchery. He went back into Swarm Host. Snute, how dare you? Well, you know what? We talk about scenarios and situations. Snute is ahead. He was never ahead when he put up Swarm Host last game. Who knows? Maybe the Swarm Host could be the answer this time around. And putting on a little bit of pressure is never a bad thing. Snute really wants to dive these turrets at the 4th base, but with number 4, number 5, might not be worth his time until he gets some additional attacks, or at least some carapace on his flyers, which he is actually right now, +1 underway. +1 missiles. We see the 3-3 for our Terran. 16 Marines at a time, 2 Hellbats. He is also adding on some additional command centers, which are going to be nice for him. If he loses any additional SCVs, you could just replace it with bio units and drop mules instead. Mute staying active on the map. Snute has pretty good control. He's got over 50%. He's actually almost got 66% probably, almost 2/3 of the map in his vision and control. Snute can't find a way inside the natural. More and more turrets getting added on as well. There's the main force of lings and mutas. I'm sorry, lings and blings. Well, both players are maxed out. Now both players are just gathering and garnering resources. Auto turret upgrade right now for the +2 range. Trying to float the command center over here, but Snute Snute just desperately trying to poop some creep over here. This game actually is turning into a very interesting one because you know, I saw Snute being very far ahead. I thought he would have, you know, went for the dagger a little bit sooner and attempted to punish Morrow for, you know, losing so much and being so aggressive and not being able to pull it off. But with all of these trades going on, this TVZ actually has turned in a lot more. I don't know. The game's a lot more interesting now. Tries to fight through some of the Marines for a little bit. Takes a few out, but backs on up. Ling run. Meanwhile, still trying to get some Ling run-bys going on across the map, and this is nice. You know, there's always those few Marines that move out a little bit too far, chase down on their own move command, and Snee's managing to pick them off. Meanwhile, on the left side right here, he's going to go for a big attack. He's got a huge, nice little bank of econ resources, so we'll see what he's going to be able to do with those. But there is a second army waiting for him on the left side, and rolling Banelings can be good, but off of creep, sometimes it can be a disadvantageous fight to take. Meanwhile, on the far right side, off of creep, we'll take the fight right now. Good splits, good splits, good splits, good splits, good splits. Eventually, Snute should have more units, but there is, again, like we mentioned earlier, there's that second chunk of the army way far off on the left side. So good on Snute to take that fight, but he's got to prepare himself right now for the follow-up as well. Locust actually chasing off some of these forces that came across the middle of the map. It's kind of funny to see. No, this is cool. This is really cool. Out of Morrow, like this play, I didn't expect this today. I did not expect this. I'll be completely honest. This is really awesome seeing just how well Morrow is playing, how well he's holding up in this game too as well. Sormo's coming out to the middle of the map. There are Baneling bombs too as well, all over the place. We'll see if Morrow gets baited into any of them soon. They're pretty well spread out, so pretty good chance, you know, typical ridge and pathway blocks. Drop inside the main base, attack on the right side, clearing away some of the creep. Mutas, this is your time. Alright. Oh yeah, with this amount, you don't even need lings. With this amount of mutas, you're going to be able to take out the Marines pretty quickly. Meanwhile, Snute getting his +3 flyer attack. He's already got his +1 carapace. Oh, he's already got his +2 carapace, so soon he's actually going to have 3-2 mutas out on the field. Missiles as well, and carapace for the ground, +3/+3. So these locusts will actually be pretty... They'll be strong. They'll be strong. Strong Locust, Lings, and Banelings will be able to last in their fights a little bit longer. The mutas are the scary part right here in this conversation, because once they get their +3, once they're +3/+2, if they get into enough of a ball, they're able to just blow through and ride over any turrets and just completely blow through bases. Now look at this baiting that's going on right now. Snute wants to try to get the army to walk over those Banelings, but Morrow gonna go across the bottom left side of the map. You know, over here at the top right side, we do have a bioforce just completely blocking everything off, and this is where all the forces should get sent. I don't know. Maybe Snute's having a little bit of conflict of interest right now. I mean, look at Morrow's bank. He's got a huge bank. He took out that forward hatch. Snute's constricted to 5 bases. Morrow's up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bases. So here he goes. He's attacking at the top right, but I mean, look at all the Banelings. They're pretty much laid to waste. There are Locusts still alive. Meanwhile, inside the main base, mutas are distracted by the drop. His hatchery will get taken out. Snute's back down to 5 bases. Now I'm worried for Snute. Even though Morrow just lost a lot of supply, what he's doing is trading, and he's forcing Snute to utilize up all of his money. Snute's problem right now is not gas. He's running actually out of resources slowly. So he's got to get something done here pretty quick. And here comes all of these angry 3-2 mutas, and it's a fight he could take. He could actually kill all of that off, but I guess he just doesn't want to lose some of the mutas along the way. Forming a lot of banelings. There are quite a few forces out in the middle of the map. I'm not sure if Morrow notices it, but he'll just try to take whatever fight he can get. Sorry. We're still recovering. We're still recovering. We're not feeling well. The Colorado cold winter got to me. Winter also got to me as well, man. All them poor golds. Don't worry, anybody can be a teacher. any master's level player can be a teacher when they play against gold level players. The cold got to me and winter gaming got to me, man. Well, Snute was able to get his 6th base up. You could see Morrow just aggressively trying to get another base going up for him over on this side of the map. A lot of turrets getting placed down. Not enough turrets and Marines, though, to currently deny this. Meanwhile, bottom right side, somehow a drop manages to sneak on through, and the DPS more than enough to take out the hatchery. But the damage of the muta is more than enough to take away this base as well. And Waldo Glaves, oh goodness, Snute, watch out. Actually manages to save this base, but takes a lot of damage, loses a majority of the SCVs there. But what is losing SCVs to Morrow when he has just so many orbitals all over the place? And this hatchery actually got saved. What the heck happened? How is this hatchery alive? I left this hatchery alone because I thought it was going to be dead. Looks like he brought a queen over with a lot of energy and just kept transfusing over and over and over again until he brought defenses. But meanwhile, over at the front, once again, the 6th hatchery will fall down on the left side. This hatchery should fall as well, and this is bad because Snute falls down to 4 hatcheries, 1 mining base. He loses actually the frontal 4th. Snute is dead in the water. He's lost his ability to garner resources. And Morrow's couldn't be any more happier. I mean, he's happy to take all these trades and fights. He's happy to trade because all he's gonna have to do is just produce units once again and just keep remaxing over and over again. Swarm host reburrowing, Snute trying to take his 4th base, no resources at the 3rd, none in the natural, main mined out. Is Morrow going to be the player that knocks Snute out of the first qualifier today? This is going to be maybe the first big upset of the day. Like, I don't want to talk bad about Morrow, but comparatively to Snute is better. On a best day versus best day, Snute is the better player. But man, I'm impressed. This is going to be crazy. Morrow is in a position to take the series, knock Snute out, and wouldn't that just be cool? Day number 1, Morrow has a potential to qualify. Drop inside the main base, drop over to the 4th right base. Morrow's going full Korean right now. He's got that level of confidence. He's going full Korean right now. He's attacking from six different angles. Dropping here, dropping there. Clearing out the creep out in the middle of the map. He's not hurrying though. He is not much of a hurry. Those poor baneling bombs still have yet to be utilized. Yeah, but being up on what 4, 5, 6 bases and getting a 7th one up, I mean, as a Zerg, that's just a nightmare. Here comes the reinforcements. Yeah, you can see the Snute's having a little bit of a hard time producing, and look at these turrets, just getting so much damage done. Mutas don't feel even comfortable enough to fight through them. There's another base over here, but that's getting denied. Snute actually manages to cut off Morrow for the time being. Morrow needs to be careful. Remember that bank he had? It's not really there anymore for him. And losing another base probably won't be healthy, but he still has a lot of fresh resources to work with from his 5th base and his 6th as well. He's mulling away at that. Snute very aware of what's going on, still continuing creep spread across the map wherever he possibly can. There is another base getting floated down here to the bottom left side, another 4th base option for a Terran player. And that's only going to help Morrow just gain more resources and get more Marines and help outside on the map. I don't want to say that the game is over, and it's not over, but it's a really tough battle for Snute now to take. Snute pretty much squandered an advantage. He had a pretty large and significant advantage in the mid stages of the game. Now as we're getting to the later stages, Morrow just looking so much stronger, and that typically tends to be the case in a lot of TVZs. Once Terrans get their 3-3 up and they have their full-fledged force of Marauder, you know, Hellbats, Marines, Thors, it's very tough to take a fight with just Mutas, Lings, and Banelings. Morrow denying a base, going across the bottom left side of the map. We'll go for this hatchery again. That's just a nice line of units for Snute to take out once again. Snute gonna take a pretty good fight right here, but while he's taking a pretty good fight on the left side, the right side completely vulnerable. Another hatchery is gonna fall. Lings now get inside the natural. All those Marines that are getting produced are actually going to be camp killed. Spawn camping, you noob. Yeah, spawn camping typically frowned upon in most games, but when you're a Zerg player and you can get inside the production, you are very happy. Well, shit. Snute's actually making this happen. Like, what the hell, Morrow? What the hell, man? Like, you're up to 7 bases all over the place. How are you managing to, you know, kind of fall behind? There we go. He pushes him out. I'm like, how the hell does that happen? You have a huge force on the left side. How does Snute manage to just break your natural and take away and take out some of your production? Alright, there we go. Morrow producing once again, regaining his units. Snute, the problem for Snute, once again we talk about fresh resources. He's long distance mining. This hatchery falls. There's no base with fresh resources. But Snute going to be headhunting some of these bases over at the top right side due to the heavy muling. This base is actually just about mined out, but fortunately he does have this base available to him. Here comes all the mutas. Auto turrets say no. Morrow's kind of gone back to balling up his whole entire force. If he goes back to splitting up and going for more attacks and dropping inside the main base and keeping the mutas distracted, that should be his key to winning. I mean, another one's going to be killing off some of the creep. There goes that base. Snute's going to try to retake this base. I'm like, this game is just so quirky and awkward because every time I feel like one of the players has an advantage, they end up kind of pissing it away a little bit in a sense. But Snute, you have to give the thumbs up to Snute for taking some of these better fights. You know, somebody maybe a little bit of a worse Zerg player would have ended up dying or would have floated the mutas into a fight or something along those lines. Snute has had really great control throughout this whole entire game. And he's been taking the fights that have kept him in the game after he's kind of fallen behind. For those, again, for anybody that watched from minute 0, you know, from the first minute, they know that Snute had an advantage in the early stages of the game. It was only up until, you know, the mid game where he lost that and sort of fell a little bit further behind. Another fight happening over here at this newly building hatchery. Meanwhile, we do have a bit of a surround flank from our Terran player, but the flank going on creep maybe a little bit further than he had hoped to. He does force a majority of the Banelings though to fight and trade. And now Snute has to rebuild all this. Now this is where the problem comes in, because now it is Mutas versus Marines. Hatcheries going down, inability to reproduce just because there's not a lot of larvae left out on the field for Snute. Locust, of course. Locust of all units. Wow, Swarmhost coming into play. Snute's like, yeah, see, that's why I built them back at like this 15th or 16th minute of the game for this moment right here. But Snute trying to fight through all of these units right now. I don't know if he's going to be able to do so. The Mutas are doing pretty well, but he's starting to lose some of them along the way. Lings, Banelings rolling through. He's attempting to camp some of the production. Now, if he could break through and camp some of the production, if Morrow's has no ability to produce, Morrow, I don't know, I want to say he could technically lose, but damn, I mean, he's still got mules all over the place. He's still mining really well. It really is going to come down to being able to camp the production. Mutas maybe getting a little bit ahead of themselves. Some of them beginning to die off. Snute dropping in supply down to 56 to 58. And yeah, no, I think it's that point where I think finally Snute can't continue. Like, yeah, he has Swarm Hosts and Locusts, but there's just not enough Mutas to be in. They're not intimidating enough. They're just not intimidating enough. It's a bit of a problem. Time for long distance mining. Also, something to note, 21 workers for Snute, meanwhile 40 for Morrow, so there is a slight army value advantage for Snute currently, but it's not by much. It's a very slim margin. Alright, well, you take a look, I mean, natural main, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th for Morrow are mined out. I mean, this base is going to be pretty mined out as well soon too, but you can see Morrow, a little bit of a contingency plan right now, producing some barracks and some add-ons over on the far left 7th base of his. Now up to 102 supply. The longer Snute waits, the worse off he's going to be. For a 46-minute game, this is a hell of a game 3, by the way. This is one hell of a game 3. One hell of a game 3 that's about to shortly end. Well, abruptly. Not shortly. 46, 47 minute game is not short. That's some Dota level type of stuff. We're talking MOBAs, baby. I like it's funny because like sometimes StarCraft players are complaining. They're just like, "Oh, this game went 50 minutes an hour. It was so long." I'm like, Dota players are just like snickering, like, they're like, yeah, we've had like back-to-back like actual hour-long games, because people do tend to forget that the timer that you see on the StarCraft 2 clock is not direct with normal time. It's a little bit quicker. So like the seconds go a little bit faster, so eventually, you know, for what's 47 minutes, it might be actually, you know, like 42 minutes or something like that that actually passes through. Speed conversion. Snute. Snute's still trying to find a way of some sort to claw back into this game. Mainly by taking on add-ons and racks, but what I still don't think he realizes that there's just there's so much production. There's production on the right side of the map. There's production on the left. And it's gonna be at that moment when Snute sees all of these forces on the right side where he's gonna probably end up tapping out. There's a Thor as well. Mutas now can't freely fight. And this game is straight bananas. I really don't think Snute could take. I don't think he could win this now at this point. This is the point of no return. He doesn't have a mining hatchery. He's long distance mining. He does have 333, but maybe +2 on the flyers. No, he does have 333 all across the board. It's like he might have 333, but you can't just win the game with mutas alone. You need Lings, Banes, you need fresh econ and resources, and Morrow, for the most part, has done a pretty nice job of just mining out the whole entire damn map anyways, so even if Snute was able to establish some additional bases, he's not going to really get much out of them. Snute. We'll keep muta cam on. Yeah, GG. Well, congrats to Morrow.